I know, like, here's the problem. Like, this drink, half an hour from now, like, I should bring the bottle and the ginger ale here, really.
You don't?
Okay, like usually at the 30-minute mark, I'm like, fuck, I'm out. Like, and I can't move.
I don't know if I should really be feeding into the whole, I really don't know if I should be feeding into the whole, like, Sean's an alcoholic thing, but I don't come up here with anything less than a 6-pack.
You're out of fucking control.
Well, I don't drink it all, but...
How many do you usually pack? Well, probably what? We're an hour and a half, 2 hours, so...
I do at least 3, sometimes 4 if I'm feeling frisky.
Well,
so usually 4.
I'm going to get the bottle. Fuck this.
All right.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Press X, the podcast, where it is March 7th, and this is episode 9. Hi, guys. How you doing?
What is up, Paul?
It's another Wednesday in a series of Wednesdays.
But it's a Wednesday where we're one episode away from double digits.
Boom.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
boom
exciting.
Indeed. Is it? I mean, it's kind of arbitrary.
What's that? What's arbitrary?
Well, where the important points come in. Is 10 an important number?
Yeah, sure. Of course it is. I mean, people were betting on us to fail, like right out the gate. We're proving people wrong every day with our success.
Who was saying we're going to fail? We have to kick their asses.
I'm sure it was an Alex. If it was anybody, it was an Alex. I don't know which Alex, but it was an Alex.
Take your pick, any of the Alexes. God, they're a dime a dozen.
Aw.
In the best possible way. We love them.
Of course we do.
We're Paul, Sean, and Trevor, and we're back again for 90 minutes. We're going to be the voices in your heads.
Hey, you remember how we started and we were like 60 minutes, guys, and now it's 90?
We try to hit 60, but it doesn't work out. Every week we just blow it out of the water.
Well, yeah, we plan for 60 minutes worth of content, and then Sean is about a half an hour extra.
I was gonna say, we plan for 60 minutes, and then Sean talks.
He's a passionate fella. What can we say?
That's right.
We can't fault him for it.
That's right.
Well, no, you mean if you're getting the best bang for your buck out of me. I mean, this shit's free. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't pay you, so this is perfect. Did you guys play any games this week?
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
I played because they announced the backward compatibility for Crackdown and the Xbox One X enhanced version, and it's fucking rad. I mean, I always liked Crackdown, and Crackdown's a cool ass game. But I was just it's kind of one of those things where, the gameplay is definitely starting to feel, slightly stale, like you're running around collecting orbs.
Yeah.
I mean, but, the progression with your character, right? I mean, you're collecting orbs, but your character is constantly improving, all that sort of stuff. It was kind of really easy to fall back into. And what's more so than anything, what really surprised me is how good it looks. I mean, what Microsoft is doing with the Xbox One X enhanced stuff. I even heard that Forza Horizon, obviously it's not completely passable, but a lot of the comments I've seen, people are basically saying it looks almost as good as it belongs on this gen. Like it's an Xbox One generation game. That's how much improvement there is with the enhancement, which is really, really cool. I mean, so yeah, Crackdown looks like super, super solid, and it's just getting me kind of hyped up for 3 whenever we get our hands on it. Hopefully soon. Hopefully.
Which I really hope Crackdown 3 is going to be amazing. I mean, I know, Sean, you really liked what you played at E3. I was lukewarm about what I played at E3. I mean, yeah, it featured a lot of chaos, a lot of explosions. It looked pretty good. But I'm like, ugh. Well, I felt like something was missing.
Well, yeah, and let's
it was
be
a quick
serious.
Demo. It was what, 20 minutes? Right.
God, yeah, and that's just it, right? I mean, we're not going to make up our minds on a game in 20 minutes of demo gameplay. I mean, especially when you know that what they're serving you is like, you can't go past this line. I mean, you've got invisible walls. You're literally trapped into their perfect little, this is exactly what we want to show you. You're not really seeing the game for what it is when you sit down for those types of demos.
No, you're not.
And considering it was, we're looking 8 months ago, 9 months ago now. I mean, you can only imagine how many changes Sumo Digital has made since then. You know what I mean? I mean, it probably, obviously it is the same game, but there's probably so much new, so many different things in another 8-9 months, right?
Yeah, I think it would have been a different story at E3 if they had dropped us into, say, the third chapter of the game, where they introduced you a little bit to the character, got you familiar with a little bit of the main character, a little bit of maybe the enemies, showed you some different mechanics other than just sort of jumping around and blowing other people up. I think it would have been a different story. I think it would have got excitement levels a little bit higher. But yeah, we'll see. I'm happy they delayed it, because a delay in my mind can only mean good things. So yeah, I'm optimistic.
Yeah, it's funny how people, you get two different mindsets when it comes to delays. You'll get the people who are like, no, that means they're taking the time to do it right, and then there are the other people that are like, it's fucked up, it's doomed. It's never gonna make it.
And yet it seems to be mostly from that camp. It's fucked.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think they're walking a fine line with this. At this point, with especially with Crackdown, is that, I mean, what have we really gotten out of it apart from like all these promises about how they're going to use the cloud 3 years ago? An overacted Terry Crews trailer. And that's it. I mean,
not a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're going to have to do a lot, I think, to get people excited about the game again, at least to get people talking about it again. But that being said, with all that new, the Game Pass stuff, it's probably more people than would have been before that are going to get their hands on it when it comes out anyways. So it's kind of destined to be talked about, I would say, because people are going to play it because it's free. I mean, I bet you. I'm actually curious now. We're coming into March here. What the sub numbers are going to look like for that Game Pass because of that sort of stuff. Yeah, definitely going to be a spike.
I feel like it's a huge month for Microsoft and Xbox. Like, it's kind of a big month. Sea of Thieves coming out. Will those Game Pass subs go way up? I mean, you'd think they would, like, naturally.
That's if Sea of Thieves is the game to do it, and I don't know if it is. We played it and it's fun, right? Mm-hmm. But you got to play it with a crew. I mean, and I don't know. I mean, I find it hard now to get a crew on a regular basis.
Oh my God, right? It's impossible.
So it's not that kind of game where people are just going to hop on at any moment and be like, I'm playing. So is that going to hurt, those types of stats? I don't think we'll really see how this system is going to work out, for Microsoft until we see like a good single player game that's got some hype. So like I say, maybe something like Crackdown, or when, the next Forza Horizon or whatever comes down the pipe, that sort of thing is when we'll see the kind of numbers it's really going to do and what sort of impact it's going to have on their ecosystem.
I've heard some rumblings about Sea of Thieves, people who've been playing it a little bit more, people who maybe have access to some of the game that is not readily available just yet. And it sounds like there's maybe not a whole lot going on out there in the ocean. And once you've got the sailing down pat, you're just kind of screwing around, and there's not a good goal to go after.
And is that the thing, like the idea is to just like pal around with friends and just be silly? I mean, it kind of suits Rare, I guess. But you just figured like, so what's the end game on this? I mean, what are we supposed to do? Who knows? Right? Which is leaving a lot of stuff in the dark. I mean, like I say, I just don't know if this is the game to really gauge Game Pass's new, ideas or whatever. I don't know if this is the game to gauge its success on yet. Because, I mean, I think too many people are going to be wishy-washy about Sea of Thieves.
Paul, you seem particularly jazzed about Into the Breach.
No.
Into the Breach?
No. Into the fucking breach.
Yeah. Oh, into the fucking breach.
Yeah. He didn't just go into the breach. He went into the fucking breach, man.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I wrote.
Into the fucking breach, and he made it out alive.
Right. It says that right into the notes.
into
Well,
the fucking breach.
I'm going to correct you right away, Sean. I did not make it out alive because this game is pretty damn hard. Did you guys ever play FTL?
No.
Okay. Well, none of this will make sense.
What does that stand for? I don't even know what that stands for.
Faster than light.
See, it just shows you where my mind goes because it starts with an F. I immediately assume, and it's an acronym, I immediately assume the first word is fuck. I'm like,
you got
fuck
a filthy
the...
mind.
I'm like, what could L be? Fuck the... Anyways, tell us about Into the Breach.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of my anecdotes and analogies are going to be related to FTL, but I'll try to do it without that for your benefit.
We have listeners who've probably played it too, right? So you don't need to just cater to us.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but we'll go for the wider audience here. I know FTL sold pretty well, but I don't think a ton of people have played it, but it's a run-based spaceship simulator where you're trying to get to Rebel space, basically. You're trying to get your ship across the vastness of space, and there's all kinds of shit that goes wrong along the way. So in Into the Breach, they've taken that concept and turned it into basically a puzzle game. And I say this at the beginning of the review that I'm writing right now. Every once in a while, you come across a game that completely absorbs you, and you have no way to get around it. Into the Breach is one of those games. I sat down to play it for 15, 20 minutes on Saturday, and I sat there for 6 hours. So it is one.
Megan was thrilled.
And I was like, "What? Leave me alone! Get out of here!" Yeah, but it is a truly great game. Earth has been overrun by evil bugs, and you're a bunch of time traveling mechs. So you got to go back and kill the evil bugs, and that's always a good premise.
But it's. I mean, I've heard a lot of really good feedback. I mean, I've just kind of been reading along on Twitter. Actually, I know a coworker of mine is playing it, and I asked him to kind of give me the elevator pitch on it. Like, give me the one all-encompassing sentence that explains this game, because I'm interested, but I don't know if I've been sold. And he hasn't given me one yet. But it just seems like everybody is speaking positively. But from what I've seen, I mean, it is like strategy-based. Like, is it turn-based? You're on a board, it looks like, because it looks like you're moving squares and stuff like that, right?
Yep, it is a turn-based, run-based puzzle game where you're on an 8x8 grid, and you see what the enemies are going to do in the next turn before you make your moves. So the idea is to take your mechs and your skills and either stop them from destroying the buildings and your power grid, or use abilities to push them out of the way and maybe get them to attack themselves, or otherwise get your mechs in the way of them damaging the power grid.
Interesting.
So if you screw up, it is 100% your fault. There's no mechanics getting in the way, so you're going to make a bonehead mistake. It's going to happen, and you hate yourself, and you yell and you scream, and then you try to fix it on your next turn. You basically have to react and survive. So
yeah, it's another a buddy of mine, Mitch Saltzman. He does a lot of gameplay stuff for IGN. He was playing it, and I think he's like, is it roguelike in nature? Because the way he made it sound was like he was 2.5 hours in and made a mistake, and like he was ready to crawl into a hole and die. Like he was really pissed. Like so like, say, is it roguelike?
Yep.
Like are you losing things along the way? So if you're 2.5 hours in and you fuck up, like, is it devastating?
It can be. When you start the game, you pick a pilot to take back in time, and so as you go along, you're getting experience and you're leveling up, so you're getting more abilities. If that pilot dies, he's dead. He or she is dead.
Yeah.
And you can't get them back. So that can be pretty devastating if you've got somebody up to max level.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
See, those types of games, like yeah, like...
I don't like that.
I know, right? Like, that's why, like, for me in roguelikes, I've always been a tough sell, because I'm like, I mean, I'm not very good at games to begin with, And it just, like, if I finally got myself to a position where I'm doing okay and I fuck it all up, I'm like, that's a broken controller time. Like...
So the way they've tried to manage that in this is that everything scales to how far you've progressed in the game. If you're a bone stock team, all the bad guys are going to be pretty easy. They're going to be pretty squishy and they're going to die quick. But if you've got a ton of upgraded gear and you've got a ton of health, they're going to be a lot harder. And one of the interesting things in the game, there are 4 islands and you got to clear the islands before you can take on the final mission. You can go to the final mission after you've done 2 out of the 4, which makes the final mission easier. Or you can try to get through all of them and get a bunch of cool gear and then make it harder on yourself to do the final mission. And there's achievements, Steam achievements and all that for finishing the game after 2 islands or 3 islands or 4 islands. So there's a lot of replay value there.
Yeah, that's cool.
The question for me is how much longevity it's going to have long term. FTL had this huge long tail where there was tons of weapons and tons of things that could happen. I'm not really seeing the breadth in this game. While it is still really fun after, I don't know, 15 or 20 hours, I don't know if it's going to be hundreds like FTL is.
Is there any talk though of, I mean, are they going to throw any DLC into the game, do you know, or
I haven't heard any rumblings yet, but I would be shocked if they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really easy to add extra islands and so on.
Who's the developer on that?
It is Subset Games.
So a small little
tiny team.
Oh, good for them. I love hearing those types of success stories where like a game that, you know, known, because I didn't hear anybody talking about this until like this week. Oh, it's out now and everybody's now gushing. Yeah,
they kind of went into a hole after FTL and nobody heard anything until this basically just appeared on the scene. But I really like it in all facets. It looks great. It's got, you know, a nice old school pixel art vibe. The music is great. The writing's actually pretty good. One of the writers from Fallout New Vegas does all the flavor text and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely worth your $15 on Steam.
That's cheap.
That is cheap.
Cheap.
People would argue that, you know, $15, I need 300 hours of gameplay for $15.
Well, you get FTL for free if you buy Into the Breach. So there's your hundreds and hundreds of hours right there. My God.
There you go. So take your complaints and shove them up your backside.
Yep, just get out of here. Trev, do you play anything?
I played a bit of Dead Space. Sean kind of inspired me to go back into the library when he mentioned Crackdown a week ago. I was like, you know, what are some older games? Dead Space is what, 10 years old?
You're going back.
Yeah, I'm going way back.
Back in the time.
When I was in my mid-30s.
Wow.
Way back.
Way back.
Way back when it all stood up without help.
But I yeah,
take that how you will. I mean,
when my shit didn't sag.
I mean, that could apply to so many different things. Right. So what are they alluding to right now? There's just so much innuendo going on.
Right. I fired up Dead Space, and the thing, kind of like Crackdown, it holds up. It looks great. For a 10-year-old game, it still looks really good, and I'm playing on the Xbox One X, backwards compatible. And it's still spooky as shit, and it's got really good strategy, really good progression, a scary story. The backtracking, I don't know if all that backtracking would hold up today. It does get a little bit annoying, but it's fun. It's fun to go back and play the game that I hadn't touched in a decade, and I'm loving it. I'm about 6 hours in. I'm of course stuck on a boss for about an hour of that 6 hours. I've been on this boss that I can't get through. Which, funny enough, 10 years ago I think I beat that boss no problem. But now, 10 years later, for some reason, it's impossible. So that alone is quite telling.
Those reflexes just ain't what they used to be, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Something sagging ship.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The reflexes are sagging, too. But Dead Space, that's pretty much all I've been up to. That's it.
Wow, that is back in time, Trev.
It is. Way back.
I think we'll probably see a lot more of us chatting about new games over the next few weeks here, knowing that there's definitely some big games on the horizon over the next 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, we're in a bit of a dead zone here. I was trying to put together the release list this week, and it is thin.
That's all right. That means we don't have much to talk about, and we can talk about the good stuff.
Right. Well, there's lots of news.
There is a lot of news. Trev, you'll love this first story because it's your favorite game. Bloodborne is free on PS Plus.
Oh, fuck that game. That fucking game. I mean, look, I get it. It's an iconic. It's fantastic. Everybody loves it. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, fuck's sakes. It's too hard. It's too fucking hard. My God. It's so punishing. Fuck.
But you know what? For people who like Bloodborne, I mean, there's literally, or really, there's only two camps when it comes to like From Software, basically, and it's either you love their games or you fucking hate them. There's no real middle ground. No one says, "Well, I thought Bloodborne was okay." They're like, I'd give up my firstborn for a new Bloodborne game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Trev, you got to say at least that Bloodborne looked fantastic and had a great atmosphere.
And I think I explained that like a few weeks ago on the pod when we did talk about it. Like, yeah, it absolutely looks fantastic, and I can certainly appreciate the strategy involved and how punishing it is. And you have to be careful with everything, with your weapons, with your ammunition. Like, every kill is thought out, and I definitely appreciate that. But I just don't have the fucking patience anymore. I just don't. Like, I want to get through the fucking level. And it took me probably 2 or 3 hours on that first level fucking around. And I'm just like, I don't have the patience for this. Restarting from the beginning of the level. Every time you die, back to the beginning of the level. It's just like, oh my God.
And see, though, I wonder too, like, I wonder if that's a thing of, you know, not that you're not willing to, or you're not interested in getting better at the game, but it just comes down to time. There are some people who, okay, well, I have all the time in the world. I don't have a wife to worry about or a husband or whatever else, and I can just play games whenever I feel like playing games. So, you know, if they spend 6 hours and they only get an hour's worth of depth worth, you know, into the game, it's no big deal. When you only get to play, you're like, look, my week, I'm lucky if I get in like 5 hours total all week long to play video games. Well, the last thing I want is to basically get an hour further into one game. I want to play a game and start to experience some things, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of my situation. Like, I'm very busy. Extremely busy, full-time job, running a site. You know how it is. Remember, Sean? Remember when you remember those days?
I remember.
So I feel like when I've got time to play a game, I really want to get into it, and I really want to, you know, if I spend 3 hours on a game, I want to be able to get far and whatnot.
We want to see that you've made some fucking progress.
Yeah, I feel like I made no progress in that game. But you know what? I think it's one of those ones, maybe I'll fire it up again, you know.
Yeah, you say that now.
Yeah, no,
you'll fire it up and you'll do that.
Yeah,
no, not doing it.
And then I'll be yelling at the wall again, and yeah.
Well, you should probably play the other game that's on PS Plus this month, Ratchet and Clank, because that is a badass game.
That's more up my alley.
But I was so surprised at how good it looked. I mean, it does. It is, wow. It looks really fucking good, especially if you're playing it on a pro. It looks so solid, and it just kind of, I mean, I don't know why I was unprepared for it to look so good, but I remember booting it up for the first time and actually like pausing for a moment and like almost being surprised. I cannot believe how amazing this game looks. And
it's so
fun too.
Vibrant.
Yeah. Well, and that's just what it is. I mean, it's not hard to grab my attention. It's like, ooh, look, shiny things, and you know, and that's all it really took. But vibrant's probably the best word to describe it. It looks so good.
Yeah, and that's not all you're getting this month on PS Plus. I mean, there are a few other games too that are cross-buy, like the fantastic, awesome game. I can't think of any adjectives. It's Mighty Number 9. That game friggin' sucks.
I think you're leaving out the adjectives that you really want to use.
No, I won't shy away from this one. This game is awful. Like, the first time I played it at E3, I was like, "What the fuck is this? Is this an early version?" But no, it was not. It was basically complete. Oh, God, it's so bad.
It's too bad. I mean, it's one of those games where there was just so much hype built up around it. Like, people had so much hope for it.
Mm-hmm.
And to see it be such a... I mean, especially for all the people who backed it. You know, all these people who put in early money on Kickstarter and everything, like, they definitely did not get what they thought they were paying for way back when. Right?
Not at all. No. That game averaged 52 out of 100 on Metacritic, 64 reviews in.
And that is goddamn generous.
Tank. You know what's funny is now, too, like, they also took, when they announced the PS Plus for this month, they also took the time to basically announce that they're dropping Vita and PS3 in March of 2019, so an entire year from now. And I watched forums just light up with people like, this is the worst thing ever. I can't believe I'm wasting my money on PS Plus.
Oh my God, get over yourself. Like, exactly. The PS3 came out in 2006.
It just fucking blows my mind that, like, at $5 a month or whatever it works out to, that you feel like you're entitled to so much that, like, you're willing to drop your subscription because, they're not going to support this console that, guess what? You never fucking turn on anymore.
And 13 years of support wasn't good enough, or what?
Well, and that's just it. I mean, I get so tired of the entitled attitude. I mean, and not only, I mean, look, they're saying they're dropping PS3 and they're dropping Vita. They're not saying that they might not add support either. They're like, okay, so how much you want to bet that a regular thing is going to be PSVR games, right? They're going to definitely continue to support that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you get an extra PS4 game. We don't know yet. But you just watch the way that the internet reacts to things. And I mean, granted that there's a good chance that on the other side, of these words that you're seeing on Twitter or whatever else, you've just got an angry kid whose mom and dad let him touch the keyboard for a little too long. Because you can't, sometimes the things you read, you can't believe would come out of the mouth of an adult, Be like, really? Honestly? I mean, look at what you're getting for your $5 this month. And you have the gall to complain? Fuck off.
I find it's very helpful to just keep a tab open with Kaz Hirai CEO at all times, just so you can, see Kaz himself, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, taking the piss out of people. It's great.
And exactly. And he would. It's just, again, I mean, this won't be the last time. It's definitely not the first time where we've spoken to the entitlement that tends to float around this industry at times. And it's just like, when you're getting Bloodborne and Ratchet and Clank, but put it this way, you're getting two games that are good, Bloodborne and Ratchet and Clank, and then you look at the PS3 games. Yeah, they're cross-buy, but you look at the PS3 games and you're like, oh, great, Mighty Number 9, a shit-ass game. So really, like, for your $5, all you're losing is the shitty games that they're tacking on just cuz, right? So it's not a loss. It really isn't a loss.
Yeah. Speaking of entitlement, did you guys hear about this Twitch streamer who admitted to killing someone's dog while she was a vet tech?
Like,
she didn't think that one through when
you kidding me?
Disclosed that.
Like, what? And the craziest thing about this fucking clip is, like, there was no remorse, there was no, like, any sort of guilt. Like, it's like she was just saying it, not even with like zero empathy. She's like, the guy who owned the dog was shitty, so I killed their dog.
What a horrible individual.
Yeah, like, I mean, I haven't followed the story since it broke, because I remember it popped up for me on Twitter, and I watched the video, and I mean, kind of shitty on the guy who was hosting this thing to kind of let it go, but I'm wondering if, I mean, he was probably just like a deer in headlights, kind of going, okay, well, now what? He tried he tried to work through it, and he did kind of confront her. I mean, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it was me, it would be a full stop. Like, did you just say what I think you said? Oh, you're a shitty human being. You're a fucking piece of work. But yeah, he just kind of rolled with it. But man, it got awkward because it was a video cast too, so you could see the other people. There were three guests total, her being one of them, and you could kind of see on their faces, like, the jaw drop and the eyes open wide, and she just did not give a fuck.
And
So what did she? So sorry, I hadn't followed along the story. So what exactly did she say?
Well, she was a vet tech before. When she was going through university, it says that she was going to the University of California, Santa Cruz, and she just kind of I can't remember what the context was on how it came up, but she basically, yeah, she just dropped the bomb of like how she killed this dude's dog because he was pretty shitty, and then when they pressed her on it, she didn't really seem to give a fuck, and basically after that said that the dog was pretty shitty too. I'm like, what kind of fucking sociopath do you need to be?
Yeah, that's about it.
And I mean, but the repercussions from this, I mean, there's video proof. People immediately were like, I'm saving this because that they're going to try and pull it down. I mean, obviously she's never going to be a vet. I mean, I don't know if that was her end goal. Well, you fucked that up, but she can get charged now too, like animal cruelty or whatever else. I mean, I hope Twitch at the very least bans her and says, no, we don't need. I mean, there are new rules that we chatted about last week or whenever we did. They came in today.
That's right.
So I'm pretty sure that talking about killing people's dogs because they're shitty humans, I'm pretty sure that violates the new terms of service.
you would think.
You would hope.
God, what insanity are we living in if that's not the case?
Oh my God. I don't know. I mean, I hope they throw the book at her. I mean, if you want to talk about shitty human beings, like that right there is just the shining example of it.
Yeah. This is arguably less insane, but it blew up pretty big on Twitter as well. Blizzard made a Diablo nightlight, and they plugged it into an outlet, and they filmed somebody switching a switch to turn it on and off. And so people went, oh, Diablo on Switch?
Well, it has to be, right? It has to be. That's a clever marketing scheme, isn't it?
It sure would be if it was true. I mean, I get it. It'd be super, super exciting to have Diablo on the Switch. But I mean, watching their little thing, it's a nightlight. I mean, there's nowhere in this little thing do they say, or in any way whatsoever, Diablo is coming to the Switch. But man, does the internet like to reach for things.
Well, didn't they come out afterwards and say, like, whoa, we're not...
Oh, they've officially, and that's just it.
Yeah, we're not that clever. This is just sort of a silly promotion that we did. Like,
you're right, they aren't that clever. I mean, how long ago did the game come out? 6 years ago? And they're still technically not an end game. Why don't you work on an end game and then work on bringing it to Switch? But yeah, no, people just lost their minds. Like, oh no, it switched on and then it switched off. That means the Switch, and everybody just went bananas. And yeah, then Blizzard came in to take a shit on everybody's parade and like, nope, sorry guys, it's not happening.
Do you think that triggered any conversations at Blizzard HQ though?
Oh, for sure. For sure it did.
I don't even know if I would say that it triggered any conversation so much as the conversation had to have been going already. I mean, I don't know a publisher in sight who is not at least putting Switch or bringing Switch into the conversation with their properties at this point, just based on the success of the console. Obviously, the one thing that's going to hold them up is whether or not the Switch is ever capable of running it.
Yeah, the power constraints.
Yeah, sure. But I would think that Diablo could run on the Switch.
They got Doom running on the Switch.
Exactly. So I mean, whether or not the Switch is capable, I think is almost a non-point. I'm sure it is. Maybe it's just the work involved, right, to bring it over. But they came out swinging that no, it's not. And if this little thing was actually hinting towards it, if that was part of their MO, they wouldn't just come out and deny it at that point. It just doesn't make sense, right? Like, why do it just to deny it? Makes kind of zero sense.
Or they thought they had this big, sneaky PR campaign that was going to be viral and nobody was going to get it until the very end, and then they got it right away.
What, has Blizzard interneted before? Fuck that. Like, come on. Come on. No, I I can't buy that. I mean, they had to have known, like, if that was their plan. They're like, they'll never figure this out. Whoever came up with that idea, if that's the plan, he's fired. He's done.
Steve, that's a little on the nose.
Looks like Steve's on the unemployment line.
Yeah. Steve, formerly of Blizzard PR. So you guys know that Monster Hunter World has been selling pretty well.
It's been doing incredible. Like it's lighting up my friends list. A lot of people are playing it. It's impressive.
It has sold 7.5 million copies worldwide, making it the best-selling game in Capcom history.
Wow.
I call bullshit.
Wow. I don't like beating Mega Man, like beating
that's the thing. That's where I call bullshit. Okay, so it is 7.5 million units. That is impressive, and it's a feat. But let's look at, say, Street Fighter, for example. We'll go with Street Fighter 3 or whatever else, right? From generation to generation where that game has come out, right? So they released it on this console and then released it on this console and they released it on this console at different times, different generations. They all have different SKU numbers, right? So yeah. Street Fighter has sold 14 million copies, but because there's a different SKU, it's not counted the same. But in all reality, it's the same game. So
yeah, and I think in the press release,
whoa! I don't think you can roll like 2 and 2 Turbo and Super 2 into the same.
No.
game.
We're talking. No. I'm talking. Okay, no. I mean, different versions of a game, absolutely, right? I mean, if there's been a tweak to it, technically, yes, it is a different game. I'm with you on that. But the same version of a game that's been ported will have a different SKU, right? And
maybe.
Yeah, but I spent some time, and of course I don't have it up in front of me now, looking at numbers. And one of the Street Fighters, and I'm just going to assume Street Fighter 3, one of the versions of Street Fighter 3, in the same version, just ported from one to the other, has sold 14 million. So, I mean, is it the best-selling Capcom game of all time? I don't know if I agree with that statement per se.
Well, if it's not, Anthony's fired.
Well,
no, I don't want to discount the story.
I think it sounds as though it's the fastest selling. Like if you're looking at the time period from the time it launched till now, 7.5. That figure makes it the fastest selling. So not the highest selling Capcom game, but definitely the fastest selling.
That was the story that Capcom ran with, though. So, I mean, too, you know what I mean? So you can't shit on Anthony for that at all. I mean, that was what they were saying. Sometimes when you dig a little bit deeper, I mean, especially with PR type stuff, is they're going to push things, because they want the biggest pop. And obviously saying it's sold the most of any Capcom game ever is going to make news. I mean, credit where credit's due. This is the single most the highest selling Monster Hunter game of all time. I mean, it's successfully crossed platforms.
It's doing incredible.
Yeah, it's successfully platform jumped, right? Because it wasn't available on Xbox before. I mean, people are absolutely loving it, and I mean, it's been out for 3 weeks now, or getting close to a month, and people aren't slowing down on it. People are. I see so much chatter.
It has all those traits that people like. It's got those looter traits that people, and a progression that people love. Like, that whole sort of progression that we see in Destiny and in other games, so that they keep coming back for more and more and more. But, I mean, it's been a slow start to the year. Like, what else is it competing with?
Metal Gear Survive?
Like, really? Exactly. Like, it's kind of on its own island. Like, there's really nothing else that's competing with it. Like, a year ago, we had Horizon, we had all sorts of really good games.
A year ago, was it the 3rd of March? So, 4 days previous from now, was the Switch.
Right. So
and Zelda. I mean, yeah, no. But we can look back fondly on 2017. We've already commented on exactly how ridiculous 2017 was. But yeah, I mean, it has been a little slow out the gate. I mean, January wasn't.
Feels like. For sure. It feels like it's been really slow, and I think that's part of the reason for the success. I mean, there's nothing else that's really sort of grabbing our attention at the moment.
This is one of the longest gaps I've went without picking up a game, actually, in a long time.
I think we got to give Monster Hunter a fair shake too, though. 'Cause I think it's doing a lot of the things that people wanted Destiny 2 to do. It's really pulling that loot progression way out into the distance and giving people something to strive for their 100 hours or whatever, whereas Destiny 2, you were done after 20 or 25.
Well, according to most of my coworkers, I mean, they will go all fucking day to get a piece of gear to craft a piece of armor for their, what do they call it, their palico, or like there's some addictive stuff squeezed into this game, and they are willing to spend many hours of their lives.
There's some cool cross branding too going on. Like they had some, I think it was some Zero Dawn armor.
Yep.
That's right. They did.
At some point, like, I mean, some of the images I saw, I mean, whether or not they were doctored, but was like straight up Aloy in the game, pretty much, which is pretty cool.
That is really cool.
They had some other companies too. There were some other games or other properties that have been featured as well. I think.
There was some Street Fighter stuff for sure. I think you could get a Ryu outfit.
I saw a weird alien looking thing though, like a green thing with a long neck or something, like, and it was the player character. So I don't know what the hell that was from. I saw that just a couple days ago, but I didn't think much of it. I mean, I'm not playing the game, but regardless, it seems to be a crossover success. It seems to have gotten a lot of people on board with Monster Hunter who weren't before. So I mean, I don't think we can argue whether or not it's been a success story for Capcom. I mean, that's pretty much
absolutely.
without question, right?
Mm-hmm. And one last big news story, I guess, for this week. And that's that the ESRB is now going to label game boxes if they have microtransactions.
Big deal.
Well, no, but they're gonna label for microtransactions and loot boxes. They're saying, but really, the label says in-game purchases, so that also boils down to DLC.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. Everything.
Well, exactly. So really, what it's going and to have basically what's going to happen is this: is if a game, say, does well, okay, a game comes out and they don't have a plan for DLC, because an in-game purchase is also DLC, right? Say they don't have a plan for DLC. 6 months later, or 4 months down the road, the game is doing gangbusters. People absolutely losing their mind over it. And they want to insert, they're like, oh, wow, we need to go back. We need to give them more of what they want. And we'll add this, right? So they add DLC, they patch it in to the game. So technically at that point, if they hadn't done it before, if they hadn't labeled it, they actually need the game to be relabeled. Right?
How are they going to? Yeah, well,
tricky. Trust, I did some follow-up on this, and basically like relabeling a game through the ESRB amounts to nothing short of a fucking migraine. Like it's a headache and a half. So even though this is a good idea to let people know that there's purchases involved, literally every game has purchases involved or will anticipate purchases involved. So every game is going to have that box. So it basically turns from a great idea into like a non-event, because, well, of course it has that on there. Every game has that on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so this boils down to typical regulatory agency, ready, fire, aim. Let's just do a thing, and this is the thing, and they completely miss the point.
They're just doing this to try and shut people up, but it's not going to, because I think it's still missing some of the point of what people are after, and they want to, like, it's really about the microtransactions. It's about those loot boxes, which can be, which can be extremely addicting when you see the fancy, flashy, packs appear on screen,
but the ESRB
and it's been argued that can be addictive, and so I think what people are arguing is that, look, there should be some kind of warning out there for parents or for kids or for whoever, that look, that specifically that there are these elements in this game, and there needs to be a proper warning.
And I agree with you, but I don't necessarily think that this is a situation where the ESRB is tone deaf. I think that they're, because they don't have a stake in it in a sense, you know what I mean? They're just doing what they think they can, like literally all that's available to them, to let people know. You know what I mean?
Well, I think
don't
they work
can
more for the
address-
publishers than they do the consumer, right? Like I think
Yeah,
they're more on the
but
side of the publishers.
Well, sure, okay, I agree with you, but what can the ESRB do about them? Like what can the ESRB do about micros and loot boxes and DLC? Well, nothing. It's not up to them. It's up to the developer and the publisher to create and release it. The ESRB, all they can do is warn people. That's their entire job, is to warn people, so they don't actually have a finger hold in to be able to fix it. Like, they can't fix the situation. It's up to the publishers to fix it. They just got to let people know. And I mean, like I say, I don't know if it's necessarily just grasping at straws, because they're like, we don't know how else to do this. How else are we going to let people know? So they come up with this. But yeah, bottom line is what game isn't going to have that warning?
Yeah, like there's going to be a lot of games with that label. It's almost a meaningless label, but
and exactly.
I mean,
and it's going to fall in the background.
You could argue, well, at least it's better than nothing, right? Like, it's better than doing nothing about it.
Well, yeah, and it is part of the conversation now. I mean, when you've got governors or God knows what from all over, talking about, was it some political figure in Hawaii, we're banning loot boxes. I mean, if they ban that type of thing in one place, it's done. It's going to be done everywhere. So I think that somebody's going to end up stepping up to the plate on it, and there's going to be an adjustment. I mean, whether it's this year or maybe it gets forgotten about. I mean, it's been in the news over the past 6 months. Maybe it gets forgotten about. Who knows? And we all just move on. But I mean, something will probably give. It just seems like we're kind of hitting the boiling point on it, because every time something comes up with a loot box style system, the internet blows up again for another week or two, right?
So I think we're going to move a little bit out of order today. And since we were talking about switching on and off, I think we're going to move right into the Press X Perfect list.
Let's do it. What's our list? Sounds like you're alluding to something.
Oh, I'm alluding, all right.
You're like, speaking of, so I'm assuming we've already talked about this somehow.
Yep, we're segueing. For those who are new listeners or haven't heard this segment before, this is where I come up with a topic, and we, off the top of our heads, come up with the perfect list that fits that topic. In the past, we've done the 10 best SNES RPGs. And what did we do last week, guys? The 10 most emotional games ever.
Yeah. The feels.
The 10 most feely games ever, and that turned into a pretty good list, guys. Pretty good indeed.
It was the perfect list, really.
It was definitive in every way.
I think the 10 most feely games ever is different than the list we did last week.
That's just Super Seducer 10 times in a row.
Yeah, the most feely game ever.
So this week, guys, we are going to come up with the 10 perfect games that should be on the Switch, but aren't right yet.
Oh, that's a lot of games to pick from.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't necessarily seem like this is going to be hard. There's so many games. I guess maybe narrowing it down in our head.
Yeah, but we gotta get to the core of it. What makes a good Switch game? Why do you want to play games on the Switch?
Well, it's funny. It's actually it reminds me of an article I read where someone kind of finally called out people begging for games to come to the Switch. Because it's like literally, there's so many games that when you play, you're like, oh, this is perfect for the Switch. And we've already commented too, oh man, this game is built for the Switch.
Perfect for the Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this port begging, and it was Lou Contaldi. He writes for DualShockers, and he pointed out just the worst of it, because it's become a thing, like this port begging stuff. And I'm gonna have to let me fuck around here and pull this up, because I just. No, like...
Could we stop you from fucking around if we tried?
No, it's kind of what I do.
I feel like this is 2 issues, though, but yeah, keep going.
No, anyway, no, I just like, okay, I want to go into the perfect list of what I'm doing is I'm stalling so you can think, Trevor. You can start thinking.
Because you are, in fact, first this week, Trev.
There you go.
Oh.
So, yeah, okay. Okay, so and no, let me finish. I'm gonna be quick about this. But anyway, so yeah, he wrote this article about port begging. So people who are like, oh, bring it to the Switch, and I've already received emails. Like I put out a news release at work, so through Evolve, and I immediately got an email that's like, I'm not in charge of this shit. He's like, when are you bringing it to the Switch? I'm like, I'm not bringing shit to the Switch. Like I'm not fucking doing that. Like that's not my fucking job. But anyway. So yeah, he points out just the worst of it, right? So like the developers for A Hat in Time came out and said, we are not bringing this game to the Switch. Right now, it's just not in the plans. And the response they get, and this goes back to that entitlement bullshit, right?
Yeah.
He just said simply, like, we haven't put it in yet. You know, we're a small developer. Right now, we haven't, we're not looking at that. Fuck off. You don't know how to make business, that's for sure.
Oh my God.
Kind of sad to see a developer tell Switch owners to basically fuck off. What? What?
That's the. But
one response. Fuck you. Maybe if you didn't treat gamers like shit, you wouldn't get cursed out because this only proves your laziness and incompetence as a developer. What? Because I'm not bringing my game to your fucking platform? The Monster Hunter people are worse.
Look, I think there's nothing wrong with being excited, over social media. Like, hey, I'd love it if Monster Hunter would come to the Switch. Yeah, that'd be so awesome. But man, it seems like and when I say we, the video game industry has this toxic community, and it rears its ugly head every so often. And that DualShockers article is a great example of how the port begging also turns toxic. Like it's nasty.
Well, you mentioned Monster Hunter, right? And they basically said, we're 100% focused on Western audiences and da-da-da-da. We have nothing to announce for the Switch currently. And a response from just some rando on Twitter. Seriously? Go fuck yourself. I refuse to support Kingdom Hearts 3 on any platform if it isn't on Switch. It's just lazy of Square not to port such a big game onto such a clearly successful platform. Honestly, just shows how little devs care about the fans and what they want, huh? Maybe they're just doing what works for them, and that's not their focus, and that's just too fucking bad for you. If you want to play Kingdom Hearts, buy one of the other consoles, you fucking prick. Like, these people who go out of their way to shit-talk developers, it makes me wonder at this point why any developer does what they do. The abuse that they put up with, why the fuck do you go to work every day?
Well,
it's awful.
I gotta assume that they're just not on Twitter. They're not listening to this bullshit, and they're making games because they love games, which is the reason you should be playing games.
You would have to hope so. But anyways, it just, I don't know. It reminded me of that. Like, it's something I've been thinking about. And I mean, years ago, a few years back, it was the Vita, right? Oh, is it going to Vita? Is it going to Vita? I mean, and that kind of faded. But the Switch also isn't going to fade. But just because a game that you enjoy or a game that you're excited about isn't coming to that platform does not give you the right to tell developers that they're lazy and tell them to go fuck themselves. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
You know what? We're in the Trump era where, just spitting nonsense and just being like a nasty fucking asshole on
fake
Twitter.
News. Fake news.
It seems like that's an acceptable thing to do now. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like we're more toxic than ever, but that's probably a conversation.
Alternative facts, Trevor. Alternative facts.
Right. Yeah.
My guess is that there's more level-headed people out there, but they're not involved in the conversation. It's, the squeaky wheel tends to get the grease, but they also tend to stand out more than anyone else too, right? So it's not hard to find these toxic assholes. I mean, I just wish that like they didn't. I mean, for fair journalism, I see what they're doing, but they blur out all the names of all these people that are being these toxic a-holes. I mean, not that it would make it any better, but man, I'd like to have some words with them. You know what I mean? I mean, it's an argument I shouldn't get involved in at that point.
Absolutely not. It's pointless.
I mean, there are assholes out there for every topic you could possibly come up with. The silent majority is just that. We're silent because we don't care about that bullshit. So
it's not worth the fight.
I mean, it's not worth the fight.
Nope.
So
I believe
if you're a member of the silent majority, know that you're not alone. We are out here shutting up and just watching the chaos.
Power to the people.
Woo! All right, Trev, give me a pick.
I will go with, you know what? We already talked about it. I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm going to go with Monster Hunter. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, it's got that Nintendo fan base. it would make a great Switch port.
It's had
Monster Hunter. I'm locking it in.
Had a ton of success on 3DS as well. So
Exactly.
They've got a built-in audience, so
yeah, the base is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of an easy pick, but hey, that's my pick.
All right, I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna pick Cuphead.
Ooh,
that's a good choice. That's what I was tossing over. I'm like, Cuphead's so good.
Man, it's awesome. It would look so good, and I mean, it just lends itself so well to the playing in bursts or on the bus or whatever.
It's bite size.
Yeah, I mean, the Switch, I don't know if it's durable enough to take being chucked across a moving bus, but I would be willing to try it.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Sean, hit me.
I'm gonna go with The Walking Dead, Telltale.
Oh yeah, good pick.
I would preface that with literally anything Telltale. Because they're episodic. Again, it's that bite size. You have a half an hour and you're riding the bus. Well, I'm gonna get through a half hour of this game. It's easy to pick up and easy to, well, not always easy to put down. Sometimes you get into some pretty good spots, but The Walking Dead specifically, I mean, as they've got, there 4 of them now, I think, in the series, all said and done. So yeah, they're definitely perfect for the Switch.
That is a perfect choice.
Perfect.
Of course it is.
I couldn't argue it. List. Unless I did, but I won't.
But you can't, because this is the perfect list.
Because it's perfect.
Perfect.
Remember when we were joking around about how many times we managed to get girth into 30 seconds? How many times did we just manage to get perfect into 30 seconds? Like, it's in the teens.
I did actually count when I was editing the cast, and it was 5.
Only 4.
Was it?
I thought it was only 4.
I was pretty sure it was 5 instances of the word girth. I
was hoping it was at least 5.
In any case, it was a girthy number. All right, Trev, what do you got?
I'm going to go with Grand Theft Auto 5. I think that would make a great... I mean, I don't think they'd be able to include the online portion, or maybe down the road. That might be a bit much, but man, I would love to play the single player campaign on a Switch. And you'd have to believe, I mean, the game's a few years old now, that even with the power constraints, that they could still port over a pretty good GTA onto the Switch. So yeah, that's my pick. I'd be a day one purchase for me if that came out on the Switch.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it handles Zelda. So it's got the chops for an open world like that. I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Exactly. Make it happen.
Like it hasn't sold enough copies. What was the number?
Close to 100 million.
Oh my goodness. I mean, there you go. I mean, it's literally just money waiting to happen for Rockstar.
Right.
Just do it. It's literally just like money falling from the sky. Just back up the money truck, bitches.
Pretty much. I think it's to you, Paul.
It is. I have so many games that I want to say right now. I'm gonna say The Witness.
Ooh, that's out of left field.
It is. I think one, it would look awesome on that small screen. It would look super sharp, and I think that the puzzle gameplay would transfer really well to the Switch because it's the kind of game that you need to keep up with. You're going to forget all the little rules and things. So I think if you could play on your bus ride to and from work or whatever, I think that would be freaking awesome. The Witness.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. Because too, like if you step away from that game for any longer than like a week,
you're screwed.
Maybe 2, you're fucked, man. You're like, okay, because you forget that. Well, you forget like the certain rules of certain puzzle solving, and you're like, okay, I don't know how to do this because it has this amazing ability to improve you as you're playing through these puzzles. Mm-hmm. And if you come across a high level puzzle early in the game, you're going to look at this and go, there's dots and lines and I have no fucking clue. And then you're going to come across it 10 hours later and you're going to be like, okay, this goes here and that goes there. You know what I mean? Like they do a really good job of building you up. So like you say, like that kind of back and forth bus ride, you're like, oh, well, I'll just pick it up and play it now. it'd probably work really, really well.
Let's see it. Let's get it done.
That's
Sean,
right.
put it on the list.
It's on the list.
Now give me a game.
I think I'm going to continue with my idea of because for me the Switch is like a perfect bedtime thing, you know, like I'm kind of chilling out towards the end of my day. So bite-sized type things really work. I'm going to go with What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh, that was my pick.
Not anymore, bitch.
Oh, son of a bitch.
God damn it.
I feel like I'm at a football pool and like I have the pick right after you and you pick the player I wanted to take. And
Yeah, Sean just picked Julio Jones.
God damn it, I wanted him.
Yeah, that's a perfect pick. All those little vignettes.
It really is.
Those would be awesome on the Switch.
Yeah, the little mini vignettes and everything, for sure.
Although you might look a little weird crying on the bus. But, you know, hey, go for it.
You know what I mean? I've cried in all sorts of places. Considering I used to drive a bus for a living, I mean, I remember just going to work, realizing that that's what I did for a living, and I was just the crying bus driver. What is that guy? Why is that guy so sad? He's a fucking bus driver. What do you think? Sorry to all the bus drivers out there. Your job fucking sucks. I know this for reals.
All right, Trev, give us something happy, would you?
Well, I feel like you guys are going with a lot of the story-driven, indie type games. I feel like I need to come out with something AAA. So I am going to go with I'm going to go Metal Gear Solid 5.
Well, you said that Paul was coming out of left field.
Is that out of left field? I think that's kind of it's a huge game. It was I mean, what is it? 2-3 years old now. It's scored super well. It's got, amazing mission design and yeah, it's one of the best games we've played in the last few years. Why can't it go on the Switch? I think it's a great pick. It's a perfect pick.
I'm going to have to leave my thoughts on that game out. So, because it's a perfect choice. It's a perfect pick, naturally.
Sean, you're the only guy in the world that didn't like MGS5.
No, we've talked about that. It's not that I don't like it. It's just not a game built for me. I mean, I appreciate how good of a game it is. Otherwise, people wouldn't have liked it. It really just boils down to, like we've all talked about this before, where a game is getting rave reviews and you just don't understand, you just don't get it. But it's just because it's just not built for you. It's not built for you. And that's fine. And that's why I don't like shitting on other people's taste in games. You get those people on Twitter like, oh, I like this game. You're a shitty human. Like, what? Well, because I like a game, like some people love to argue that sort of shit. And I'm not one of them. I'm just like, you like it? Good for you, man. That's awesome. Have fun. Have fun playing
a lot of people did criticize the game for its story and for some of the character development, So I don't think you'd be the only one that didn't care for the game. There are others there. I do recall, the criticism about the story.
But, I mean, all in all, though, it was very well received.
Oh, God, yeah.
So, I mean, to say that it wouldn't do well on the Switch, oh, yeah, right. It would go perfect on the Switch.
Yeah.
I would love to sleep dart and attach balloons to soldiers on the Switch. And I also think it might actually run on the Switch because the Fox engine is just so well optimized. I think it would work.
There you go.
Yeah,
perfect pick, Trev. Perfect.
All right. One of your most beloved games of all time, Paul. Well aware.
Have I talked about that before? Wow.
Just a little.
Uh-huh. All right. Is this our last go round? Oh, God.
I believe I've made 2 picks, I think.
You've made 2? Okay.
I've made 2. Paul, you've made 2.
So we each have 1 left.
Have you made 2, Paul?
Yeah.
I made 3.
Yeah. Trev will be
last.
last.
So it's the last go round because you get the last pick
first.
too. You go first and last.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to pick this one because I absolutely have to. It is perfect for the Switch. And that's Rogue Legacy.
What? What game? What the hell is that?
Oh, God. Have neither of you played this freaking game? Come on now. Come on,
Come
man.
on now. I have not played Rogue Legacy.
Oh
I
my
have not
God.
played it either.
Do you like 2D platformers?
Yes.
Do you like battling bad guys?
Yes.
Do you like
Also,
big
yes.
epic bosses?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you like RPG progression?
I'm getting a boner.
Oh, yeah. Rogue
Yes.
Legacy. Go get it. It's probably like $3 on Steam or
Yes.
something.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I can't even describe how many hours I've played Rogue Legacy for, especially at like hour 18 of Extra Life. Rogue Legacy, baby. It is so damn good. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and it is perfect for the Switch.
Perfect.
Oh, it's a perfect pick.
Can't argue it. Go ahead, Sean.
Okay. I've already kind of done my, I think there's a lot more games that are of that bite-sized variety that I would love to mention, but I feel like I've kind of already given them kind of their due. Considering how well, Bethesda's been really eager to bring their games to the Switch. So we're talking Skyrim, we're talking Doom, but as much as my people would probably want to say, Fallout 4, I would rather see, and I guess I have to pick one. I'd like to see...
Do the right thing, Sean.
I would like to see New Vegas.
Yes!
Hit the Switch.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love Fallout 3, and I spent far too many hours. I know that those are the two most comparable, but New Vegas has some masterful writing. I actually played... 3 was my favorite, and then I played New Vegas, and 3 was still my favorite, and then I replayed New Vegas, and I realized just how good it was, and I'm like, oh, yeah, New Vegas it's the better of the two.
Man, the factions in New Vegas, there's so many ways to play that game.
Good. It's so good, and you could just even see it come to the Switch, and if not with, even some slight optimization. We've seen that the Switch can do some pretty impressive things, so... Yeah, I would love to see a Fallout game, and New Vegas would be rad. All the DLC, everything, all the goods.
I think if it does happen, if we do see a Fallout game on the Switch, though, I would think logically
It'll be
probably
4.
see 4.
It'll be 4.
We'll see 4, which would be great. Look, don't get me wrong, but I love that pick. I really do.
You might say it's perfect. Yeah, there you go.
You might say that.
All right, Trev, it all falls to you. Make this the perfect definitive list.
Yeah, it's Trev, you're coming in with the big finish. Don't stop now, buddy.
I'm really torn right now because I feel like there's a couple games that should be on the list, but I'm not going to go with them, but I am going to pick a game, and it's kind of cheating because it's 3 games in one.
You can't cheat.
I'm cheating.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the BioShock collection. All 3 of the games on the Switch.
I'm not going to argue that.
The entire collection.
Throw my hands up. I'm not
Switch.
arguing that at all because I love that franchise. I wish it wasn't done.
I really hope we hear some kind of announcement. Hey, maybe at E3. Doubt it, but hey, you never know.
Ken Levine has moved on and kind of he's doing his thing now. I don't see there being new BioShock, even though I desperately want it to be so. I desperately want it to be so. But no. Man, that's a really good pick.
I'm cheating. It's 3 games, but hey, that's my perfect.
Well, they released it as one though.
Mm-hmm.
You were able to get it as one. So it's a fair pick. I could personally, maybe some people might call me a blasphemer, but I could technically do without 2. It was good, but I could do without it.
Take it or leave it.
1 and Infinite, oh man, those games are like highlights of my gaming existence. They're so good.
Guys, this list did not go where I thought it would, but I think it turned out perfect.
Well, of course it did.
Of course it did. We've never had a list turn less than perfect.
Well, that's kind of the whole MO here.
It is. So let's read this back. Grand Theft Auto 5, Monster Hunter World, What Remains of Edith Finch, Rogue Legacy, The Walking Dead, The Witness, Cuphead, Metal Gear Solid 5, Fallout New Vegas, and BioShock Collection.
Boom. That's pretty good.
It's a handsome list.
Damn.
It's a handsome list.
That's 10 games I'd buy on the Switch.
Yeah,
Scrumptious.
that right there is me looking at a lot of money leaving my wallet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let my dog out. I need to pause momentarily because my dog is scratching at the door.
Oh God.
And hell hath no
Shiba.
fury like a Shiba scorned.
You said it, buddy. You said it. Man, what a dick Sean is, hey?
just ditches us like this for his dog.
Unbelievable. What kind of guy does that?
Hey,
Sean.
what's this bullshit?
Oh,
Hello, I'm putting my earpiece back in. What kind of guy does that? I'm like, I know they're fucking talking about me.
Well, we were talking a little bit of shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I usually deserve it, so I can take it.
So if you have a problem with the perfect list, I mean, it's perfect, so you can't. But if you did, you would email us at pressxpodcast@gmail.com. That is pressxpodcast@gmail.com. And with that, we're going to head into the emails where we got a very, very loaded email. This actually came in last week, but we were like, it was too heavy to tackle in last week's cast, so we're going to do it now. And I think, listeners, you can probably guess where this is going. But Sean, do you want to read this one out? Comes in from Josh.
Yeah, this one was pretty heavy, and I mean, it really kind of ripe for what we're dealing with right now. Okay, so Josh wrote in, and he says, one particularly slow-witted Rhode Island rep proposed a 10% tax on violent video games to fund mental health. Even our president and the NRA have said that violent video games could lead to violence. Yet there's not a single study that supports that, nor did the representative source one. Ignoring the subjective opinion on what constitutes violence or morality, such as killing a zombie in Left 4 Dead or killing a deer in Last of Us, this sounds dumb. I'm a gun-owning, red-blooded American that believes in the Second Amendment. However, I cannot buy a bomber jet, and maybe an AR-15 is too much for a civilian as well, or at least a 19-year-old kid. In short, I'm not a fan of more expensive video games as a result for a kid that checked every box there is on not needing a gun, let alone an AR-15. My question, being a Canadian entity with a different healthcare scheme, single payer, more restrictive gun laws where guns are tied to sportsmanship versus self-defense and video game fans, what's your take? And I got a lot of God, I could go on. Like, this is...
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, we need to treat... Like, for me, I need to, in a sense, I need to be respectful of other people's thoughts, in a sense. But I shouldn't say our. I don't want to speak for you guys, but my Canadian take, I mean, I don't care how old you are. You don't need a fucking AR-15. Let's just go on that. Like that, I mean, this shit's been in the news for years, and I mean,
there's no reason to own an AR-15.
No,
even if you're an avid hunter, you really need
no.
AR-15.
But I mean, it sounds like Josh here. I mean, he's even admitting, he's like, okay, he's a believer in his Second Amendment. He wants his guns, and that's cool, man. Like that's your thing. But even he kind of is at least acknowledging. But an AR-15 is that thing mows down human beings. And obviously, it can, it can very easily or far too easily fall into the hands of the wrong individuals in the States. And obviously that does tie into mental health, right? So we're kind of going back to what he spoke about at the beginning. That does tie into mental health. Mental health is part of the problem. The ease of which they can get the gun is also part of the problem. I actually saw a very interesting video, and it was this dude. He was in his 30s, I think, maybe, into his early 40s, and he was reading a letter about how he's like, I was almost a school shooter, and going through the difficulty he had growing up and where he felt backed into a corner, and how he's so thankful now that he didn't have access to that type of weapon, because he would have been one of those people. And he was tearing up hard. I mean, it was really heavy to watch because It's someone who could have been that person who luckily, like, thank God, got himself the help that he needed and figured himself out. And he's in that position where he gets that chance to reflect. And imagine that sitting on your shoulders, realizing you could have been that guy. Holy shit. Like, how do you... But I mean, yeah, okay. I want to try and... I do want to kind of go back to just wrapping all this together. I'm going to agree with Josh when he points out this Rhode Island guy representative as being slow-witted. I mean, a 10% tax on video games, on violent games, is bullshit. I mean, there's this talk right now where Donald's going on about he's going to go and talk to very important people in the video game industry. You know, the funny thing is I mean, we're involved in the industry. We're keeping up on the news. Do you know that there's not a single representative in the video game industry who knows what the fuck he's talking about? Like, he's not talking to me. He's not talking to me. Who the fuck is he talking to?
No idea.
Yeah, but it's bullshit. Like, and this, like, there was this kid. I don't know where it was, but he got banned from playing not even violent games. He was banned from playing video games because of this that he made, and it's just like. They keep trying. They just keep trying so hard to tie violence in the real world back to video games, and this has been brought up numerous times over the past 10, even as far back as 20 years, and there is no link. There is no fucking link. So they just need to stop and bring it all back and realize where they're going wrong, and where they're going wrong is their mental health and their extremely easy access to weapons. Maybe focus on the problem instead of scapegoating something like that, like video games. And obviously, I mean, like I said, I think Josh has, you know, he thinks a little bit differently than us, obviously. But he still is mostly, I would say Josh is on the same page as we are, going like, you can't blame games for this, and yeah, maybe someone shouldn't have this gun.
Yeah, and I mean, we would agree with Josh. We probably all here agree that a 19-year-old shouldn't be able to walk into a Walmart and pick up an AR-15. Like, I would think that we'd think that is absolutely ludicrous. And so, and I understand that Americans, for sure, there's a gun culture, and y'all love your guns, but
maybe we should not use redneck what do you want to accents when we're speaking to our American friends who are probably listening to us. Y'all love your guns down there, don't you, boys?
Right. But
Josh is like, I was a listener until right now, you fucking assholes.
I think all we're saying is, like, maybe some rules would be good, maybe some policy, maybe some laws.
Well, how about the fact that, like, I mean, I get the idea behind the Second Amendment. I mean, I'm not going to try and go into the politics of it all, because I'm not as well versed as an American would be, obviously. I mean, this is an outside take of someone on the outside looking in, okay? But the only time I ever hear or see anything about a mass shooting, what's really strange is it's not in any other country ever but the United States. So obviously there's an issue there that needs to be dealt with. But that grasping to the Second Amendment, I mean, to my understanding, I mean, that's to protect house and home and everything else. Great. You want to protect the land that you have paid for. Perfect. When this was written, I'm pretty sure the guns held one bullet at a time. Like, yeah. So if you want to go back however many years when this was written and they had access to a fucking Uzi, do you think they would have written it the same way? Do you really think they were like, look, if you've got this gun that can fire off like 1,000 bullets a minute, have at her? Like, I have to think that common sense might have taken over and went, okay, let's limit what the firepower is on this amendment.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yep, totally. The thing is, you can't boil this issue down to one thing anywhere. You can't boil it down to just video games. You can't boil it down to just access to guns or just mental health. Exactly. It's everything, and everything needs to be addressed. There's a reason that this is happening so often in the States. And I mean, it's not an easy solution. There's no easy solution, but talking about it, not just praying for the victims, is what's going to change things. People have to actually enact policies. They have to enact change themselves.
Exactly. I mean, and it's funny that you bring that up. I saw this today, or yesterday, I think it was. What's the name of the guy? I can't remember what state he was from. Was it Arkansas or whatever? Roy Moore, that politician who ended up
Oh
losing, or
God,
it was.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Arkansas, but I can't remember. Anyways, apparently, because he had a bunch of accusations of sexual assault and all this stuff against him. And apparently, he's running out of money and he needs help with his legal defense fund and everything else. And people are legit, like, because he put up an address. Like, it's like this GoFundMe account for this fucking redneck sex assault prick. Whatever it is. But the funniest fucking thing is there's an address to send in, help for this guy. And people are writing checks in the dollar value of thoughts and prayers. And I'm just like, oh, fuck me.
Oh, that
Like,
is wonderful.
well, but
That's
it's just
rich.
like, it's like bring it around full circle, and it's just like, your thoughts and prayers aren't helping people and kids are dying. And stop trying to blame something that's not really part of the problem and focus on what is. And I mean, I think no matter what side you lie on when it comes to the gun debate, if you live in the States, I mean, unless you're one of those people who were in that weird ass church in Pennsylvania, I think it was, who are like going through blessing ceremonies with your AR-15s and wearing like bullet crowns, which is it's just too culty for me. Unless you're one of those people, I mean, anybody with a head on their shoulders is going to come to the same realization that children dying is something that needs to be looked at. I get it. Maybe you don't want to give up your guns. That is obviously part of the conversation that needs to happen down there. But I don't think anybody's going to walk away and go, I don't care about those kids. So it seems like there's a lot going on. This is a hot button topic right now. And, we might see some changes on the horizon. I mean, these kids are speaking up right now, which is pretty amazing. But the bottom line is that scapegoating video games is not the answer. Like you alluded to, Paul. I mean, there's so many different aspects to this equation. Maybe it's part of it. I mean, I'm even willing to say that. Okay, I get it. Maybe it's promoting, or there's just a certain level of violence or a certain level of something in a kid's head, maybe that might. But it seems that they've already proven against that time and time again, right? The real issue is the mental health and the access.
Well, and there are ratings on these games for a reason. Like, you should not be letting your 10-year-old play Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that goes with Call of Duty too. You shouldn't be letting your 9-year-old, your 10, your 11-year-old play Call of Duty. Like, there's a reason why there's ratings on all these games. Like, be a good parent. That is more important than any kind of game your kid's gonna play. Like, just be a good parent and yeah, watch what they play. Just monitor what your kids are playing.
Yeah.
Just be engaged with your kid's life, right? I think that's a big thing that we're missing in the iPad generation, is that people are less engaged with each other generally. Like, you got to pay attention to what people are doing.
Exactly. There was a news article just yesterday or 2 days ago that our boy J.S. Avedo pointed out about Fortnite, where people are like, I don't see my kids for hours at a time. I don't know what's going on because they're addicted to this video game. And I'm like, well, I mean, maybe this is just, I'm just going to throw this out there. How about you fucking parent? How about you be a parent? Like, with my kid, like, what do you mean you don't see your kid for hours at a time? I'm like, I go and I say, hey, guess what? Turn it off. We're going to spend some time together. And I do things with my child, as a parent should. It just seems like such an easy excuse for you just being a shitty parent. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just, again, I mean, it's just an easy thing to blame. Oh, let's just blame video games. Come on. Find something new. I mean, because we fought back against that, that scapegoating time and time again. And by we, I mean the industry as a whole. And every time it comes out, it's like, yeah, you're right. Blaming video games is really stupid. Let's focus on the real issues here. And, it's just going to come around full circle again. I mean, Donald can talk to whoever he wants, but if he thinks that he's going to be able to come in and, like I said, add a 10% tax on a, oh, okay, if you want to play a puzzle game, it's this much. Oh, well, there's a 10% tax on Call of Duty. Like, fuck you. That's never going to happen.
No.
People would lose their shit. Could you imagine if that happened?
Oh my god.
God, you think people are upset about paying $5 for PS Plus and only getting 2 amazing PS4 games? Could you imagine? Oh, we need to charge an extra 60 cents on this month's PS Plus because one of the games we included is violent. People would fucking flip.
Be a lot of angry 10 and 11-year-olds, I'll tell you that much.
Good lord, keyboards would explode. Did you ever see that video years and years ago? I mean, I don't know whether it was true or whether it was staged or whatever, but I believe it was a kid in Germany, because I'm pretty sure he was speaking German, but playing a game, whether it's like WoW or League or something, League of Legends or something, but he just loses his mind and just starts slamming the keyboard, like screaming like bloody murder. Keys are flying and he's punching the screen, and like I remember watching it going, this can't be real. Like, nobody gets this mad at video games, do they? But maybe I'm more level-headed than some. I don't know. But he was angry though. Like
he was angry.
But I've seen videos of like dudes like playing FIFA, and again, like I say, you have to wonder if it's staged, where like they punch their freaking 60-inch HD TV, and I'm like, there's no way you did that. I mean, you might have done that, but then literally like a half a second later, you're like, oh my God, what did I do?
Or you just did it hoping for the hits.
Well, maybe.
Wanted to go viral.
The hits enough to buy a new TV? Maybe.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Good God. I don't know, man. I don't even let my kid breathe in my TV's direction, let alone punch it.
Turn your head when you breathe.
Do you realize that's 4K?
That's right. You don't appreciate the good things.
Get out of here, peasant. Well, thanks, Josh, for sending in that email. I know that I've thought long and hard about it before coming to the cast today, so really appreciate you taking the time to write in. And again, if anybody else wants to write in, wants to tell us something, wants to ask us something, you can either email us, which is pressxpodcast@gmail.com, or you can get at us on our Facebook group, Press X the Podcast. We're all in there. We're just milling about. We're waiting for people to talk, and we want to talk back.
We are. And, you know, I want to go back quickly just to Josh. This is one of those questions. I mean, I'm glad that there's people out there who feel like these are important questions to talk about. Not to say that we're an important podcast to necessarily address the issue, but I love having these types of conversations, especially when we can approach it from from two different mindsets, obviously, right? Like he points out quite plainly, he's a gun-toting, red-blooded gun-toting American, and he realizes we kind of think differently, and he's interested in our take on that. So I really appreciate that type of question. I really do. And I would love to get a lot more of those. Those are really great talking points. And
that's a super important thing to remember, I think, is that even if we disagree, that does not mean we can't talk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, in a culture now and both sides are really bad for it, where if you think differently from me, you're wrong, and it's vehement. It's an absolute. And people are forgetting that there's middle ground, and the only way we're going to get forward is if we actually talk to each other, for sure. So I think that's a really good point to bring up.
Absolutely.
We got serious for a second there.
Yeah.
Super
heavy.
You guys have anything else you want to talk about?
I feel like I need to just crawl up with my pillow and think about life and love and all the things in life that are important to me.
Oh, God. We got to get out of here before he gets any more sentimental.
Right. I love you guys so much. I don't know. I just don't say it enough.
Well, if you made it this far, thank you very, very much for listening. If you liked it, share it with everybody you know. Give us a thumbs up on iTunes. I guess you don't give thumbs up. Give us 5 stars. Review it. Do all that cool stuff. Tweet it out. Facebook it. Whatever it is you do.
Share it is probably the most important. Yeah. We would really encourage you, if you're listening to this and you're liking what we're doing, we want to grow. We have to grow. Invite people into the Facebook group. Chat with us, man. We want to talk to you guys. I mean, that's the entire reason we do this. We want to know that you guys are listening, and we want to talk to you guys and engage with you guys. So share it amongst all your video game loving friends.
And where can we find COGconnected stuff, Trev?
Oh my God, I can't believe he missed it.
Oh my God, and we're almost done. Yes,
Well, technically we are
COGconnected.com.
done. Technically, we are
We
done.
are pretty much
We
done.
are inserting this in just for you.
Oh,
Go.
I love you guys.
Go.
COGconnected.com. That's COGconnected on Twitter. COGconnected on the Instagram. COGconnected on Facebook. I'm your company man.
We have to get that in a trio one day because he's a company man.
And with that, we're going to get out of here. Take care, guys, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Peace out.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Is it? It's the signature sign off. Bye-bye.